Hello and welcome. Hey Brett, tell everybody where we are.
Testing. Oh.
Tell everybody where we are.
In a conference room to interview Guy Roberts.
Woohoo! Are you excited? Are you feeling good?
Noise.
Are you feeling nervous?
No.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very, very special bonus episode.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one today because we're getting a bit of a blast from the past from our 2024 JordanCon experience.
Yeah, a bit of a flashback.
Yeah, it's going to be good though.
We've been sitting on this one on purpose because it's so good. And you know what? Just coincidentally, we have a season 3 release date for the show. And
we
so
do,
you know
yeah.
what? And there's all this hype about season 3. So let's talk about the show for a minute.
Yeah, definitely.
It's almost like we did it on purpose.
Right, almost. Not quite, but like
Not
almost.
Quite. It's just these things have a way of working themselves out for us, hey?
Yeah, so it'll be a very special December 31st, end of the year episode.
Yeah.
So should we tell everyone what it is first before
Probably,
we
yeah.
things? Okay.
Yeah, I think we've had some suspense long enough.
Okay, so we had the opportunity during JordanCon. So that happened April 2024.
Yep.
So the very last day of JordanCon, right before we were getting on a plane to come back, we got to sit down with actor Guy Roberts, who plays Uno in the Wheel of Time TV show. And
That's
we
right.
got to sit with a few other podcasts and ask him a few questions.
That's right. Yeah.
And he gave us answers. It was very exciting.
It was great. It was a Q&A with an actor who was on the show. So that was really exciting for us. And so we were given that opportunity with a couple other podcasts, one of them being Queers of Time. And we sort of had this idea that everybody sort of got to pitch in what kind of questions they wanted to ask. We put it out to Instagram and a couple people responded to us. And so some of these questions are coming directly from our fans who wanted to know, who knew we were sitting down. And you know what? Eventually you get your answers, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it was pretty fun because we also had to have the questions vetted ahead of time. So we had to send in our list of, this is what we're thinking. So you can't surprise them with anything. But also, we have to be pretty efficient with our time with Guy Roberts. So
Okay. And before we jump into the interview that we did, I think it's important to know spoiler level.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's sort of what we do around here. And so in April of 2024, I was in book 12.
Right.
Or I had just finished book 11. I think something like that. Or I was like in the middle of book or something like that. Because in our recording with Guy Roberts, I stop him and say, whoa, don't say anything. Because he's read books, which we ask him and we get into and it's fun. But I specifically say, not past book 12. So I stop him. He's like, oh, right. Okay. So there's no book spoilers past book 12 for sure, because I wasn't anything. And I just listened through it again and very, very, very minor spoilers it's not really spoiler heavy at all. And it's a little bit more spoiler heavy for the show. So we talk about season 1 and season 2 of the Wheel of Time show on Amazon Prime. Yep. And because Guy Roberts plays Uno Nomesta in season 1 and season 2, we get his take on what it was like filming and things like that.
Yeah, so a very cool interview. I will note though, just because we got bustled into a room with Guy Roberts. We got to sit around the table with him. We all had our microphones going. So we're going to be repeating back some of the questions just for audio's sake, because we weren't able to capture everything. But we'll do that today too. I know you have the questions written down.
I wrote them down so that I can have little like sound bites, and then we'll just play his answers to the questions.
Yeah.
Because he has a lapel mic, but then we had our mic, and then other podcasts had their mics all over. So this will be better for listening, I think.
Yeah,
I hope,
absolutely. Anyway. It'll be an experience. So
right. Okay. So the first question that we got to ask him was, are you a fan of the books? And here's what he had to say about that.
I feel like I'm in the hall of the tower being questioned. Yes, I am a longtime book fan. I first read the books in the fall of 1990 when I was a freshman at Boston University. And one day in my first semester, I was at the Trident bookstore on Newbury Street. And I saw this cover of this little tiny blue woman and this giant knight behind her. And I just thought, well, I have to read that book. And so I had read the book several times and listened to the amazing audiobooks before the TV show was announced. And then obviously once the show was announced, I read them all again and keep going back to the books. Yeah.
Very cool.
And now what's funny is I actually also asked him, I asked him how he reacted to the death of Uno on the show. And this is how he responded.
What death?
I mean, okay. When you first read about the death.
Well, about the death, 100% Team Rafe, 100% Team Shinar, 100% the show. So whatever was necessary to make the show as great as it could be, that's what I really wanted to be there. In the same way that I felt like Uno would be there for Rand and the side of light. So whatever you need to do, you do.
Now, we also got to hear the answer to the question, did being a fan of the books impact how he portrayed Uno or acted on the show?
I think the great thing about Wheel of Time is it's so well written that these characters become real people to all of us, all the fans who read the books. And so you get deeply attached to them. And the amazing thing about the novels, just like a play of Shakespeare, is you can come back to them time after time and find new things and find new affinities with characters. So when I was young, it was all about Matt for me. And then I started to really appreciate Rand, and now in my doting old age, I'm really appreciating Perrin. And always, though, a constant for me was Lan, as a model on how to behave and think about certain things. But I will say, deep in my heart was always Moraine. And anytime there was a Moraine point of view chapter or anything with her, I was just so enthralled in the books. And what I'm so happy about and why it's such an honor to be on the show is I feel like the writers deeply, even though some things are changing and perhaps it's a different turning of the wheel, whenever I read a script, I feel like I am reading Perrin or Rand or Ishamael. And so I feel like the writers deeply know these people and the characters feel so authentic, and the casting as well. The actors are just phenomenal, and it's a joy to work every day.
So for this next question, I think it's important to note that Guy Roberts actually has a huge Shakespearean background.
Yeah.
So he is the founding artistic director at the Prague Shakespeare Company. And that's really cool and really important because some of the questions that were asked in this Q&A have to do with his experience in Shakespearean roles and his experience with Shakespeare in general. And so one question was, does your experience with Shakespeare and Shakespearean roles prepare you for other roles? Like, how does that experience impact how you play Uno?
Well, what I would say is if you look at some of the great performances in the last 20 or so years in film, in really big poppy movies, you're getting amazing performances from people like Patrick Stewart, and Ian McKellen, and Anthony Hopkins, and all these actors who have a lot of Shakespeare experience. And I think what it helps with is there's a expansiveness of creativity in those plays that encompasses at times imaginary settings in fantastical settings, but rooted in reality and real feelings. And I think the best science fiction and fantasy, like The Wheel of Time, is exactly the same thing. So I think in a way, actors who are classically trained are comfortable in science fiction and fantasy. And if you look back at Greek mythology, for example, the greatest and first fantasy novel in some ways might be the Iliad.
Yes.
So I think it's a genre that classical actors are very comfortable in, and it's great to have fun with swords and things like that.
Now, Brett, you got to jump in with a question to ask Guy if he would be okay with a storyline in Tel'aran'rhiod with some certain other characters.
Well, in this turning of the wheel, he might be following around some blonde archer.
As a follow-up to that, would you be okay if you had a recurring role in Tel'aran'rhiod, or maybe with Perrin and maybe with Hopper, who knows?
Well, you know, whoever you meet in the dream world, except Lanfear or Megiddian, is always fun and exciting.
Now, he was also asked, what cast member or character would you have liked to have had scenes with that you didn't get to have scenes with?
Well, I'm not sure if I want to have scenes anymore with Jessica Boone. Although it was an honor. You know, there's so many, but anytime you get to be in the same room with Rosamund Pike, that is a true honor.
Okay, now that answer is particularly funny because Jessica Boone is in fact Guy Roberts' wife in real life, and she plays, who does she play in the show?
Yeah, she plays Alwyn, so with the Shanshin.
One of the Shanshin.
Yeah.
And without huge spoilers, she's not very nice to Uno.
Right.
They're on opposing sides. And so that's
we'll say that, yeah.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. Okay, so we wanted to know if there were any challenges shooting scenes with all of the horses, especially in season 2.
I have a question actually about the shooting itself, because you have a number of scenes where you are on horses, and I always wonder, like, is there anything unexpected that happened with the horses, like any challenges that you came across?
Definitely, and you know, horses are a lot of fun. Sometimes they get bored. Even though we have amazing horse trainers, and the horses are very accomplished film actors. They've done tons of things on TV and film. But, you know, sometimes when you have a lot of horses together, they'll get annoyed at each other, and it doesn't matter how much training you do. So basically, anytime we're on a horse, it was like rolling the dice. And but a total blast and a great time being with the team. And I have such fond memories of every moment on a horse.
Okay, so we also noted that there were highly choreographed fight scenes in the Wheel of Time, obviously. And so we were wondering how actors on the show prepared for these highly choreographed fight scenes.
So you had a lot of fight scenes that were pretty highly choreographed, especially with the Shanshin. Was there anything specific you did with your training for you personally to help get ready in that role?
Well, first of all, the fight team led by Jan Petrina and Roman and the whole team at Filmca and Merlet, they're just badass ninjas through and through, and it's such a joy to be able to work with them. And I had the privilege of working with them on a few other projects as well, so I knew them. And it's just great fun, and they take such good care of you, and they're so safe. They always pair you with people that are appropriate for various reasons. So because someone might say I'm vertically challenged, I either often fight the tallest person, which is one of the fighters like Pavel or someone, or I'll fight the shortest. And there's a little short stuntman who's amazing named Charlie. And so if you ever see a short Trolloc or a short Shanchan, it's probably Charlie, and so I get to fight Charlie a lot. But no, the training, you know, weeks and weeks, and every day you go in, you do the fight in sequences, and you just practice it, you know, at least 10 times, and you do it slowly and over and over and over again, and they really take care of you, and it's great fun going to the Wheel of Time stunt gym and hanging out with them, and they're just so inspiring.
So super highly choreographed. Did you ever have any moments of improv in anything like that, or?
No, you know, because it's so well worked out. The only time that there was a little bit of improv is sometimes they, for whatever reason, they won't call cut right away, but you've already killed everybody around you. So, so as Uno, I didn't know what to do other than just start screaming. So I just started screaming, more, come on, more. And a few curse words might have come out of my mouth, which probably have been cut forever and deleted. Yeah.
Now, as a book fan, we wanted to know what book scenes was Guy excited to see play out on the show. We specifically asked about season 3, but his lips were zipped and he didn't share anything, but he did say specifically a couple things that he would like to see play out?
Well,
That you're allowed to share.
well, what I will do is I'll talk about scenes later on in the books that there, that would be in far ahead
I've only
seasons.
read to book 12.
Okay. There's something called The Last Battle. I'm so looking forward to whatever happens with The Last Battle, because that alone, that could be like 10 seasons alone. So I'm super excited about that. And there are a few particular things. The sequence later in the books with Egwene, for me, is one of the great sequences in all of fantasy. And so I think, in general, a lot of fantasy is about the hero's journey and how do you become the hero of your own life. And that sequence is inspiring, and I love reading that.
How was it to wear the eye patch?
Yeah, that was a big question. I mean, since he is Uno.
Yeah.
How was it to wear that eye patch? Were you able to see through it? Did you fall down any stairs? Depth perception issues?
Yeah.
How did that go for you?
Well, first of all, they're incredibly safe always on the set, and it's always about safety first. So I never fell down, I never tripped or anything. But in season 1, I often was filming with a real eye patch, and so that depth perception is quite challenging. And actually, the first time I met Rosamund, she had some great advice for me, because she's worn an eye patch quite famously in some projects. And she said, watch out for stairs. And of course, in season 1, that meant there was a sequence where I was walking downstairs trying to look tough and Uno-like.
While acting.
And God, inside all I thought about was, oh, don't fucking fall, No, and then they did some movie magic, and the eye patch in season 2 has a very, very tiny mesh hole in it, which you can't see much out of it, but it makes such a difference riding a horse or doing a fight at night, like the fight at Atuan's Mill. So I was really grateful for that.
All right. And then the last question that was asked was, how do you feel about changes that were made from the book to the adaptation as a book fan, and also as being an actor in the show?
I think they're exciting, because for me, the writers are so terrific. They understand the characters. And I get the feeling when I read a new script or when I watch a sequence that I'm not a part of, that I'm reliving the first time I got to experience Wheel of Time, and would see the new book in the bookstore, and I would get so excited because I didn't know what was going to happen. But because they're so rooted in the world, and we have, of course, the amazing Sarah Nakamura on set taking care of things, and because Rafe is such a huge fan, and Justine and Dave and all the writers and everyone, it's really exciting to be sometimes perhaps in another turning. And I love it.
Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate this.
Thank you. Oh God, was it recording?
Save project, save project.
Awesome. So yeah, that was really fun. A little nerve-wracking.
Very nerve-wracking, but a great experience getting to meet him. So yeah. And we also did, for the record, if anybody's jumped onto any of our live streams where you get to see our backdrop, we've gotten a few things signed by Uno, Guy Roberts, including a deck of cards, the Uno game, and a few of his pictures, the shots from the TV show he signed for us.
Yeah, that was good. And I think we have a live stream we did from JordanCon in 2024 where Guy Roberts walks by and we call him over and say, hey. So if you want to check that out too, you can find that over on our YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, this is a really fun bonus episode to be able to share with everybody. I'm glad that we're finally getting it out. But what is on the horizon for us for next week? I think it's one chapter.
We have one chapter, and that's going to be with a very special guest.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Who's going to be joining us for that one very important chapter.
Right. I need to read that chapter again. Not only do I need to, I want to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be it's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. And I'm wondering if anybody has any bets on who our guest is going to be.
Yeah, I guess we haven't really said it. So
if they've read the chapter, I bet they can figure it out.
If you know, you know. Okay.
Yeah, and here's the hint. It's somebody who has not been on our show before, as a guest in this capacity. So
Yes, definitely.
that's the hint. We're excited. All right. So we hope everybody has a happy new year. If anybody is listening to this, we do this every year. We end up recording in and around New Year's, and we're always like, Happy New Year 2025. And then I'm still getting messages that are like, oh, you just wished me a Happy New Year for 2022. That's so funny. So if you're
that's how it
years
works.
in the future, let us know how this has aged and how the show has turned out. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us for this special episode. As we say around here, it's part of the pattern now.
Yeah, it's part of the pattern.
This is Uno Bloody Nemesta, and you're listening to the Goat Kissers from the Wheel Weaves podcast.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone. The Wheel Weaves is hosted by Danny and Brett, edited and produced by Danny and Brett with Passion Socks, Cody Feltz, Benjamin, Jamie Young, Megan, Jared Berg, Ricky Morissette, Lance Barden, Adam, Mozyme, Michelle Forbes, MKM, Antoine Benoit, Lawrence Bradley, Colby T, Gabby Young, Rycat, Zane Sayaka, Matrix, The Albatross, Bratimus Prime, and Matt Truss, with music by Audionautic. Be sure to check out our Patreon page if you are interested in supporting us and the podcast. We'd love to send you some Patreon exclusive merchandise as a thank you. Plus, you'll gain access to our episodes earlier than everyone else, and at the time of recording, we have over 40 bonus episodes for your listening pleasure. Find all that and more at patreon.com/thewheelweavespodcast. For general information about our show and information like how to send us shot glasses, how to join our Discord, and how to get in touch with us, visit thewheelweavespodcast.com. And as always, please be sure to give us that 5-star review because it really does make a huge difference in helping people find us. And tell a friend, Riyadh, because referrals really are the best compliment. Thanks again for listening. This really is part of the pattern.